Some of you with us, go ahead.
I realize this could take up the entire press conference, but why do you think Khalil's career never really took off here in Illinois?
I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, right? It's never one thing. You know, when you say take off, you know, he had played basically, 5-6 games before we got here. And, you know, change of offense, change of philosophies, change of different things. Probably had a little bit or a lot to do with that.
If there was anything you could do differently in that respect, from your standpoint, would you, in terms of Colote?
I couldn't hear you.
If there was anything that you could do differently.
We want the best for every player, right? And we want the best for all of our players. And, you know, the quarterback position becomes a situation where there's a lot more focus on that than there are other players in the team because it's the quarterback that goes along with it. So, yeah, I mean, as a coach, you're trying to make things. We don't have a set system that you have to have. You have to do this. But what we do have is we try to tailor, just like we've done defensively with getting all 3 linebackers on the field, or just like we've done with everything. So, you know, just to say that you know, the results are the results, and that's not just on the quarterback. That's on everybody: offense, defense, special teams, and me. And so, you know, winning is the priority, and what that looks like can be a lot of different ways.
How seriously did you consider going for it on 4th and 1 from your own 34 pretty early in the first quarter?
Really seriously. But, you know, with that, the way that team is built and the way they did things, you know, that was, I still feel like that was the right decision at that time. Because, you know, when we punted down to 13, they ate up the rest of really the second quarter to get down to 1 to stop them, right? So, you know, it's the score factors into what that looks like early in the game. And, you know, there was a consideration of that. There was a consideration of a fake punt. They left their defense on the field. I'll just leave it at that.
When you're in the situation that you're in right now where the bowl game's out the window,
Right.
Are you apt to maybe take more chances or have that kind of mentality as a...
Yeah, I mean, what did we go for on 4th down how many times last game? A bunch, right, in midfield. And so, you know, that we went for it on 4th and 10, actually, one time, maybe 11, looking back at it. But, yeah, I mean, it doesn't have anything. We're trying to win a game, right? And every game is mutually independent. But, you know, as a coach, we're trying to give our players the best chance to win. And that's how those decisions are made.
You're into this rivalry now. What did you learn kind of from your experience through it last year? And then what types of things will you do this year to try to maybe, you know, make it a better experience for the players from that standpoint?
I mean, the better experience by winning, that would be the better experience. So, as I just said, we're trying to win every game. And so, you know, what that looks like is different every week. But certainly in a rivalry game, the intensity level ratchets up, and you know, it's a game going up there too. That, as I said in the locker room after the game, you know, for our seniors, we would like to leave them with a good taste in their mouth for their last football game.
How long did it take to move on from last year's Territorial Cup loss for you?
What do you mean? I was out recruiting the next day. I was out recruiting the next day.
What have you seen from Jaden Daniels that's made him so successful?
You know what? He's you know, last week he played lights out, right? He's gotten better as a young player. I think you know, he is understanding their offense better and better every week. You know, with the number of games that he's played. But last week I thought he was almost perfect, right, in what he did. He takes care of the football. I think that the addition of Brandon Ayuk has been big for him. Here's a guy who leads the league in receiving, right? A guy who leads the league in punt returns or kickoff returns. He's a real threat. And so when you have a guy like that who's leading the league, there's a lot of good players in this league, but at the top of the league in those categories, that's a go-to guy. But I think he's done a really nice job of operating and being consistent. But I think Brandon has been a difference maker for them offensively.
How has your relationship evolved with Herm over the last year?
It's been that way for a long time. He came and spoke at Texas A&M to the team, when he wasn't coaching. So, like I said before, when I was a younger coach, I did an internship at Tampa Bay for Coach Dungy, and he was the secondary coach there and the assistant head coach. He actually, was the guy that I communicated with that brought me down there in the summer to get better. So, known him a long time. He's doing a great job. He's been around. He's done a lot of things, and he's as a friend, but but also as a guy that years ago when he wasn't coaching, even when he was, it was a guy that I talked to because he as you said, he's been a head coach in the NFL, and he's got a lot of experience, but he's also got a lot of experienced guys around him too, like Marvin. So, there's a wealth of knowledge there.
Following up on what David was asking earlier, having gone through the game one time now, did you maybe gain a little bit more of an appreciation for how much it means to the fans?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you heard me talk about it last year. It starts in the parking lot with the fans, right? So there's a lot of people who really, really care. We had a little skirmish before the game last year, so the intensity level was high. I mean, right when we got to the game. So yeah, I've got a great appreciation for this game.
How much is your use recently, and maybe in the last 4 or 5 games, of Bam Smith and Gary Brightwell? I mean, they were injured a lot during early part of the season. How much of their lack of participation has been based on that, or just you've been wanting to stick more with JJ as your running back?
Well, the reason that they played early is because JJ was hurt. JJ didn't play in the first 4 games. So, that's where they've been. JJ's healthy now, and as I've said before, we're trying to get him, between 25 and 30 touches a game. So there's only one football.
Jalen Harris and J.B. Brown didn't play very much against Utah. Was that just a game plan specific deal to try to?
Yeah, I mean, in the defense that we were playing, when you start moving those guys down into three techniques or 4 eyes, and we were playing a lot more bear defense, and they're not as effective versus those 2 tight end formations and big sets that we were seeing inside there, as you saw Miles and Trey and Bars in there a lot because they're bigger guys, right? So you're trying to get 300-pounders on the field, and on third down primarily that's where those guys were playing for pass rush.
Arizona State's one of the top rush defenses in the conference.
Third in the league.
What do you kind of see what they do that kind of makes them so difficult?
Well, it's we've seen 1 and 2 right in the last 2 weeks, so now we see number 3 this week, and they've got a great scheme up front, play hard, so it's we like I said, we've seen 1 and 2 in the last 2 weeks. We see number 3 this week. We got to figure it out.
What stands out about Benjamin?
He's a he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's he runs really hard. He's a driven player, and he's a guy that I think the way he plays with a chip on his shoulder. But from where he's from, and for what happened in recruiting, in that state, I think that when you see him play, you know, it's obvious to me that he's got something to prove.
How important is this game from a recruiting standpoint?
It's important. Every game's important, but this game's important from the state standpoint. There'll be a lot of guys there. You know, a lot of things have changed in recruiting just because of the early signing date. And you know, December 18th is quicker than the first Wednesday in February. So from that standpoint, it becomes important.
When you look at in-state recruiting in terms of however you guys rank kids, whether you use the various rankings that are out there, or you have your own system, do you say to yourself, we need to be offering the top 10 of kids in Arizona, the top 15 kids? How do you evaluate it from that standpoint?
But we evaluate them based on what our evaluation process looks like. And, you know, wherever I've been at 3 different schools, sometimes those guys, when we evaluate and when we recruit them, sometimes those stars go up, sometimes they go down, right? So, you know, our process is about who can help us win in our systems, whether that's special teams, offense and defense. And so our evaluation process is based on that, not based on the internet.
How much better has the talent level been in Arizona, just from your experience for the last few years?
It has increased, exponentially. So, you know, 15 years ago, when I first, I'll give you an example, when I first went to Phoenix to recruit, there were high schools and places where there were just horses and farms, right? All the way to Goodyear. So, yeah, there was no Goodyear, like 20 years ago. So, you know, and all these new high schools, the population growth throughout the state, and you know, just population growth itself has really helped, and the coaching has helped. You know, it has really grown really in the last 15 years to schools in places where there was nothing, literally, and a stadium somewhere where there was nothing, right? So, you know, and when they built the stadium, there was nothing out there either. Now there's, you know, it looks like a whole nother city in Goodyear. So, you know, you know, all the way, all over the place. And with that population growth and coaching and people moving there, there's, you know, the talent level has grown. I think you saw it this year in the, you know, with the change in the system of the playoffs with the open division this year has been really exciting, except for some, you know, for my son and some other people here in town from last weekend. But it's a chance for, in that open division, for when they seeded the top 8 teams, you know, you're seeing really, really good football and a lot of talent in that bracket.
How much of a role did the recruiting calendar play in your decision to move on from some coaches?
Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of it, but it's not, you know, all of it. You know, as I said before, you know, you asked Saturday night, you know, my statement was a statement just about what has transpired with the coaching changes. But, you know, December 18th is going to be here really quick. And statistically looking at it, I think it's almost 80% of guys who signed last year, I think that's right, signed, you know, December 18th. So, you know, that's right around the corner. You're playing, you know, this week, and you basically have 2 weeks till the dead period to kind of close things down.
As a dad whose son was playing on Saturday night and a coach who had to coach on Saturday night, is Arizona the kind of state who can put its best football events on the same day? Would it be, from your standpoint, would it have been better for them to keep those games on Friday night?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, you've got the other argument. You know, what if we were playing on Friday night, right? So it's difficult to say that. Would I've liked to seen him play? Yeah, but you know, that's part of it. We have road games too that I'd miss some games. So, you know, if we play Friday night, then there's that the other issue, right? So, which in the middle of the year in the Pac-12, there's some Friday night games that are for exposure. So it works both ways.
Do you think those open games are valuable in terms of putting schools that maybe wouldn't face each other other than in the non-conference? So
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really talked to a lot of high school coaches about that and that specifically, but I thought that that to that open division championship game and the rankings for that created some really, really interesting matchups, right? You've got you see those 8 teams. I thought it was a great idea.
I was just saying, evaluation-wise too, how valuable is that?
It's great. It's great. There's a lot of good players playing last Saturday night, right? And there was a lot of good players playing the week before on Friday night. So those guys have continued to play the whole year, and so it's more than just. Let me just make this clear. It's more than just the open division, right? So you still got the other classes that are playing, and they're really good football teams playing next weekend. Well, not this weekend, but the weekend afterwards, right?
You have emphasized after some of these losses the importance of everyone sticking together.
Sure.
Are you confident that everyone is kind of rowing in the same direction?
Yeah, I mean, we get together this afternoon, right? So, we had the discussion after the game, and this afternoon at 3:30 we have a team meeting where we're going to talk about that. And just my feedback with guys today that they're coming in and out from treatment or for class, and talking to some other guys this week becomes really important. And our team, from the guys that I've talked to this morning, I think they're focused on this football game individually and for our seniors.
When there's a play like what happened to Jalen Johnson where drops the ball, it's wide open, what's the coaching message?
Well, it's you saw it with Booby too, right? With his young guys, the message was, hey, let's go, right? You can't do anything about what just happened, right? And I think particularly with young players, with freshmen in those situations, I think it's important to be positive. He's not trying to drop the ball, and we brought him here for a reason. I think that was important for Booby also because 5 minutes later he makes a big play on his next chance down the sideline. So it's game time is different than practice, and I know a lot of people look at me and say why you're how you handle things during the game is completely different than I handle things during practice. Just because, our job and the way that we do things is to try to replicate or duplicate a game environment and put the pressure on from Monday to Friday. And then on Saturday, right, if somebody's making that kind of mistake or drops a ball, he knows he's made it. And in front of 40, 50,000 people and millions on TV. So the confidence level, particularly for young players, becomes important. And as I said, I thought, Jalen has had great moments. He's going to continue to grow. But I use Booby as an example because the first drop was right there, right? And it's not what he's trying to do. And you got to keep a confidence level up with players because he came right back and made a big play probably 5 minutes later.
I know I've asked this question before, so it sort of sounds like a broken record, but same process with the quarterback evaluation
Yes.
this week that's been?
Yes.
Do you anticipate getting any of your injured linemen back for this one?
We've got an opportunity to do that. It's Monday, right? So, we just played 48 hours ago, and they didn't play in a game, right? So, but we'll see where they are here. We've got a couple guys that are experienced that we've been missing for 4 or 5 weeks. So I'll know better by Wednesday.
One more, Coach.
seeing some encouraging signs from Kyle Osendorf? I know he didn't have a good game at Oregon, but it seemed like he played a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, he had a bad game at Oregon, but, you know, he had a pretty good game the week before, right? I think we've put Matt out there, too. I think we averaged, 42 something a punt, which is pretty good. It's not outstanding, but it's good enough. It's a lot better than 32 or 34, right? So, you know, he's a young guy that he had a bad game in Oregon, but, you know, overall he's been pretty good. And I think Matt, you know, because of his age and maybe working at things a little bit differently when he was not playing, you know, when Matt came in, I think he did a nice job too.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you.